want firstly to thank you all for your presence. I want also to thank the people on stage. We are waiting for His Excellency Mr. James Bartlett. He is in a traffic jam in Nîmes, unbelievable. But he's on his way, so he's Minister of Jamaica. I want to thank Madame Muriel Abadie, Vice President Région Occitanie, Pyrenees-Mediterranees. Xavier Douais, Deputy Mayor Nîmes, Président Nîmes Tourisme, and Vice President Nîmes Métropole. And of course, Christian Delom, the Secretary General of World for Travel. I am Frederic Vanhoutte, the CEO of Eventiz Media Group, founder of the International Tourism Forum. I'm also a boomer. I'm not guilty for that, but I would, if in good conscience, I would do nothing today. I worked 30 years in the travel world, and I was not aware of the impacts of our industry on the environment and on the people. I'm not ashamed. I also seen the tremendous benefit of tourism on both economies and people's lives. But the rules have to change. I think that actions count, no matter how powerful they are. This forum aims to get into action. So there you go. This is the second edition of the World for Travel. We are here in this wonderful city of Nîmes, Gare, in Occitanie. Nîmes because we wanted to go on supporting a cultural destination inspired by its Latin roots. But Xavier Douais will tell much more, and is more legitimate to comment. We are in Occitanie also to keep on supporting a sustainability-oriented region with a huge diversity of experiences to provide. COVID-19 situation has revealed and accelerated the previous ongoing mutations. But other crises appraised and intensified. Climate crisis, economic crisis, geopolitical crisis. And by the way, I wanted to say hi, just entering the room, the ladies representing Kharkiv in Ukraine. Mesdames, hello, thank you for coming from Ukraine. Thank you. The industry needs to transform itself before to be obliged to transform from outside. There is no way to overcome the crisis and accelerate the sustainable transformation of the industry without a tight and organized coordination of all stakeholders and their organizations. This will be the modest ambition of our working days. I'm happy to be back on track with an exceptional group of professionals and talents attending this forum. I thank them all for their presence, their commitments, and for their words. Before handing over to Christian, was done, by the way, a titanic work to bring together this hodgepodge talent. I wanted to add that we are committed to offset the event. ATR, Association du Tourisme Responsable, the association of the major French operators committed in implementing and developing sustainable travel and tourism solutions in their companies, is our partner to evaluate our footprint of the event that will be done after the event that we are entirely offsetting. Thank you for your attention and to help us make people happy.
So thank you, Frederic. So what's the purpose of this event today? Well, the first edition was to gather all the forces, giving a starting point from where we are, and the delegates took guidelines to move forward beyond call for action with 5 urgent acts for the ones who were in Evora. You remember these 5 urgent acts. But this second edition, as Frederic said, is aimed at taking actions here and now. And a word for travel is a think, do, tank, even, in fact. And we are jumping from think to do in this special second edition. And we want to push the transformation and watch the progress achieved. Transgression, progress and steadiness are the DNA of a water travel. So everybody is at ease to say what he wants to say. There is no boundaries. Create confidence in the sustainability transformation of travel and tourism is our aim. And we cover all the components, of course, of the SDGs, of the sustainable transformation for travel and tourism. But this year, we are going to concentrate on two of them. And they are relating, that we are not often relating to these two of them. That's human impacts, social and human impact, that concerns employees, communities and travelers, and economic impact, because it means how to invest in sustainability. Who invests? Who does the industry access funding, and who invest in sustainable solutions? And of course, at the end, but I'm going to go back during the session, what about the business models? Are we supposed to go on with this old, ancient, and very, very nestful business model, or how we to invent another one? So what discussions? There are among 42 sessions, keynotes, roundtables, including 14 case studies, just to provide and to learn the best practices of the industry in the sector. But among them, I want to stress on four sessions that for me are crucial. The industry session, because we need to have the private and public sector's collaboration being closer and closer, and we have to have partnerships driving sustainability. We are going to have with the Egyptian minister and a preview of the COP27, and we are going to have a data survey that is very surprising. I can tell you it's a very surprising one, delivered by Roland Berger, the consulting group, and you are going to see how the sector, how the people are facing the urgency, and will be very, very surprised. And of course, we have stressed, because we have our friends from Ukraine who are here and wants to emphasize on the resilience and war, and what preparation are made to protect sites of importance when it is looming. And we are going to learn a lot, because Ukraine is in pressure, and we have to learn from our friends. So who is attending? You know that we have national, regional, local governments, national, regional and local governments, their association, we have companies, we have academics and experts, and of course you have you media, because your role is not only a role to report, it's also a role to act. You're fully in action. There is a session about the role of the media. So we are hosting 30 ministers and dignitaries, 100 speakers, 5 only virtual. You're around 80 medias inside and and remote, and we are attending at least 5,000 virtual delegates and 400 delegates. It simply gives the evidence that the industry is moving, and that it's that the industry wants to accelerate. And what are the expected outcomes? First of all, it's alignment of all types of stakeholders, whether private, within the private industry, any sector, all the sector, and whether public, of course, with the governance. To revise the 5 urgent acts, because we have to resume the priorities and turn them into action. And after the forum, all the contents, experience, knowledge, propositions are to be resumed and published, to be shared with you medias, with the industry, and with the organizations and other events. And I want to emphasize that we have a strong partnership with Resilience Council, co-chaired by Mr. Bartlett, who is coming, hopefully. And the Resilience Council is providing expertise and knowledge, and this has the experience of this, how to cope with the crisis, and the DNAs of the Resilience Council and the one of Award for Travel are very complementary for that. So, first of all, I want to ask and I'm going to translate, or you're going to translate, to ask Mrs. Muriel Abadie, who is the Vice President of the region Occitanie, where we are, and that's my old region as well, so I'm very caring. And that's Frederic's region as well. No, we have not chosen because it's our region, because there are other issues, because you are making an incredible job by sustainability in the region. Madame la Présidente, simplement, j'étais en train de dire qu'on était très heureux d'être ici dans cette région, qui est la nôtre aussi. Voilà, nous la partageons. Et nous ne l'avons pas choisi pour ça, parce que nous l'avons choisi surtout parce qu'elle était un exemple justement dans la transformation durable du tourisme, bien d'autres choses d'ailleurs.
Merci beaucoup. Bonjour à toutes et à tous. Oui, effectivement, merci d'avoir choisi la région Occitanie pour ce bel événement. Au-delà du fait, effectivement, nous avons pu échanger hier soir que vous êtes bien originaire de notre région Occitanie. Donc merci, c'est une joie de vous accueillir ici à Nîmes, donc en région Occitanie. Et je tiens d'abord à excuser la présidente Delga qui devait venir, et voilà, contrainte, urgence de dernière minute, elle n'a pas pu se joindre à nous. Effectivement, la région Occitanie, et je vous remercie de ce que vous venez de dire, est une région qui travaille déjà depuis longtemps sur le tourisme, oui, mais sur d'autres thématiques aussi, et nous souhaitons être exemplaires. Alors, c'est vrai qu'on a différents axes. Oui, sinon ça va être long.
D'accord, non, non. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to welcome you all here today, and thank you very much for coming to the town of Nîmes, which of course is in the Occitanie region. First of all, I'd like to apologize for the president of the Occitanie Pyrenees-Mediterranees region, Madame Carol Dalga, who sadly is unable to be with us today. Anyway, now for a very long time, Occitania as a region has been working on tourism, and we aim to be at the forefront not only of tourism but also of sustainable tourism.
Alors, en région Occitanie, nous souhaitons continuer à accompagner dans la mutation. Nous sommes en pleine transformation profonde suite aux différentes crises sanitaires, énergétiques, sociétales. Et nous souhaitons aussi des évolutions, nous constatons des évolutions des attentes et des besoins. Et donc, c'est bien la fin d'un modèle aujourd'hui qui appréhendait le tourisme par des infrastructures et des aménagements. Et aujourd'hui, nous avons besoin d'un changement de paradigme et d'un nouveau référentiel pour construire un tourisme de production de valeur, de prendre le pas sur les questions de volume et de travailler sur de bons équilibres.
Okay, so in fact now the world is entering a phase of profound transformation due to various crises, so sort of health, energy, society, and also changes in expectations and experiences. So we're now seeing the end of a specific model of tourism, which was based previously on infrastructure and facilities. And so now we're looking at a paradigm shift and a new frame of reference, where we need to build a tourism model where quality takes precedence over quantity, value over volume. So tourism for all, sustainable tourism.
Alors, au niveau des équilibres, effectivement, nous devons travailler sur de nouveaux équilibres. Aujourd'hui, on a besoin de construire, de trouver les équilibres entre le tourisme et le tourisme durable, de trouver les équilibres entre les habitants et les touristes qui viennent dans les territoires, de trouver un équilibre aussi sur un paysage préservé et sur un aménagement de qualité. Et donc, ce virage, la région Occitanie l'a déjà engagé depuis plusieurs années avec la signature d'un pacte vert en novembre 2020.
So we're constantly working on the right balance now because we need to find a consensus between tourism for all, the tourists and year-round residents, preserving the landscapes yet creating new quality facilities. So the region of Occitanie has anticipated this profound shift for several years now. So for example, we launched in November 2020, we launched a Green Pact, which goes through all of our policies.
Alors, cette transition, elle part aussi de l'habitant et des citoyens, puisque nous, en région Occitanie, nous souhaitons un tourisme de proximité et nous souhaitons être en accord avec les habitants de la région. Et donc, la volonté de la présidente Delgas a été de mettre en place aussi une politique de tourisme pour tous et pour toutes. Et ça passe notamment par certaines expérimentations qui sont devenues des dispositifs très concrets, comme notamment la carte oxygène. Et je salue le président de CRTL ici présent qui gère avec la région donc cette carte oxygène qui cette année a fait bénéficier plus de 900 000 billets et également le billet train, le billet Lio à 1 euro. Donc là, cette année également, on a fait une expérimentation sur les 2 derniers week-ends avec les week-ends du 15 et 16 et du 22-23 suite à la pénurie de carburant. Et donc c'est un dispositif qui nous permet de nous rendre compte que quand le transport est à un prix raisonnable, les utilisateurs et les citoyens l'utilisent. Donc c'est un axe de développement aussi pour le tourisme sur toute la région et sur le tourisme pour tous et pour toutes.
Okay, so Madam Delgar is committed to a policy of developing local tourism and tourism for all. And so a couple of very good examples of this are the Oxygen Youth Travel Card and also local train tickets being sold at just €1 per ticket, specifically at the weekend. And this has also been revived. This was during the end of current petrol shortage. And so it was very, very popular. Almost 900,000 tickets have been sold. And so this shows that people are willing to use public transport when it's available.
Ensuite, une volonté de la région Occitanie, c'est aussi de donner la moyenne. Donc, on était dans l'accompagnement, dans une volonté politique et aussi de donner les moyens. Donc, donner les moyens en Occitanie, c'est aussi la signature d'un pacte pour l'embauche que la présidente a lancé au mois de mars 2022. Et ce n'est pas anodin puisque ce pacte pour l'embauche est transversal et il va énormément nous aider au niveau des saisonniers, du recrutement des saisonniers, de la formation des saisonniers, avec notamment un groupement d'employeurs sur lequel nous travaillons au niveau régional. Et ensuite, le futur schéma régional du tourisme qui, lui, est en pleine rédaction. Nous avons fait une concertation sur les 13 départements sur ce printemps et là, nous allons le voter au mois de novembre. Donc, un schéma régional du tourisme avec des axes prioritaires. Donc, accompagner, accélérer dans l'innovation et développer le tourisme pour tous et pour toutes.
Okay, the region, excuse me. The region is also giving the means to change. One of the most important of these are jobs and job skills. They have an employment pact which will meet the needs of business, attract job seekers and employees to jobs that are in demand, provide training, and also experimenting with creating groups of seasonal employers. And we're creating a roadmap which will adapt to these transformations via the Regional Tourism and Leisure Activity Development Scheme, and in order to provide ethical, meaningful tourism, sharing skills and sustainable tourism accessible for all.
Thank you, Madame Vice-President. Merci, Madame la Vice-Présidente. Je crois qu'on a bien compris que l'Occitanie était une région soutenable. We have fully understood that Occitanie is a very sustainable region. And I revert to the deputy mayor of Nîmes, my dear friend Xavier Douais, who is going to explain why Nîmes. Why Nîmes? We're here in Latin, are we in Rome?
Hello, good morning. Welcome to Nîmes. I was advised to speak in French because it will be more elegant. I have the weakness to believe that is the only reason. Ville de patrimoine et de culture, Nîmes est fréquentée depuis l'Antiquité pour ses monuments et je peux dire en quelque sorte que Nîmes est durable depuis plus de 2000 ans.
Okay, so why Nîmes? So Nîmes is a city of heritage and culture that has been visited since antiquity for the last 2,000 years for its monuments, which are still among the best preserved in the whole world.
Nous sommes à proximité de sites culturels UNESCO, comme le Pont du Gard, Arles, Avignon, le Théâtre Antique d'Orange, et de sites naturels, véritables marques touristiques. Je pense bien évidemment aux Cévennes et à la Camargue.
Nîmes is close to many UNESCO cultural sites, such as the Pont du Gard, Arles, Avignon, the Antique Theatre of Orange, and also many natural sites, such as the Cévennes, which is UNESCO Biosphere Reserve, and the Camargue.
Nous avons une position stratégique sur l'axe méditerranéen et les principales voies de circulation du sud de la France, de l'Espagne vers l'Italie, en connexion avec la vallée du Rhône et le reste de l'Europe.
So Nîmes enjoys a strategic position on the Mediterranean axis and along the main traffic routes of southern Europe, so Spain to Italy, in connection with the Rhône Valley and also the rest of Europe.
Sur le volet développement durable de la ville de Nîmes, je rappelle que la ville est classée 5e ville disposant du plus important patrimoine vert accessible au public.
So moving on to sustainability, Nîmes is ranked the 5th city in France in terms of green heritage accessible to the public.
Il y a une véritable stratégie de développement durable qui est pilotée par Jean-Paul Fournier, le maire de Nîmes, qui nous rejoindra tout à l'heure. Pour ne citer que quelques exemples, je parlerai des chantiers de restauration des monuments qui sont parmi les plus importants de France.
And we employ a very sustainable development strategy, which is clearly displayed in the city in the agglomeration, which is led by Jean-Paul Fournier, the mayor of Nîmes, who will be with us shortly. And among these, the restoration of monuments, which are among some of the most important restorations going on at the moment in France.
Une politique de réaménagement urbain avec une piétonisation de l'espace public. Vous avez pu, lors de vos déplacements, vous en rendre compte dès hier soir, avec la création de nouvelles places, de nouveaux jardins et des accès qui sont facilités pour les personnes en situation de handicap.
So we are employing a lively urban redevelopment policy, and I hope you saw some of this last night. Pedestrianisation of public spaces, creation of new squares, gardens, and so on. And we're also facilitating access for people with disabilities.
Une véritable gestion des risques qui est élaborée depuis plus de 30 ans, car Nîmes est une ville qui, en cas de forte pluie, peut s'inonder. Donc, cette politique-là, encore une fois voulue par Jean-Paul Fournier, est élaborée depuis plus de 30 ans sur la gestion des risques.
And we also have a robust risk management plan, which was developed over the last 30 years. Nîmes does suffer from heavy rains and flooding, and so this plan, this plan has been put in place by Mayor Jean-Paul Fournier.
La programmation événementielle est elle aussi répartie sur l'ensemble de l'année de manière à ce qu'on puisse développer et étirer notre saison touristique pour être sur un tourisme de 4 saisons.
So we have a program of events which is spread throughout the year in order to attract tourists year-round for tourism all the way through the year rather than just peak seasons.
Et enfin, je terminerai par une volonté de Nîmes Tourisme, l'organisme que j'ai l'honneur de présider, qui va s'engager sur une normalisation 20121, c'est ainsi, désolé, qui elle pourra valider notre volet durable sur le tourisme.
Okay, and so the Nîmes Tourist Board itself, which I have the honour to lead, is also very, very committed to the ISO 20121 standards.
Merci de votre attention et je reste bien évidemment présent pour répondre à toutes les questions.
So thank you very much, and I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Take all your questions later on.
Thank you, Mr. De Meyer. We have fully understood that we are not in Rome, but there is still traffic jam just like in Rome here. And because Minister Bartlett suffered from this traffic jam, Minister, you're here as co-chair of the GTTRC, but you have a lot of things you're everywhere. You're president of a fund, you're making effort to emphasize in the world and to promote and to develop the idea of tourism, whatever the possibility, whatever the countries are. So how can you explain that we are in such an important world now? Resilience is key, but not only, we have to move forward as well.
Thank you. Let me make sure that it's open. Thank you so much, and good morning, everyone, and apologies for being late this morning. I'm still getting over the jet lag after nearly a day and a half of travel. But here we are, you know, this is a world for travel. And we can't complain, right, Rajan? We can't complain. So thank you so much for the opportunity of saying a few words at this press conference this morning in relation to the transformation strategies that are being looked at in at least my part of the world, certainly in the Caribbean and Jamaica, in enabling this recovery and to try to forge a recovery that is as seamless as possible. And I make that point against the background that the entrepause that we've just come out of into what is now being called the entrepause, when activity is happening again in the world, we're traveling, and what a way that we have started to travel. The numbers are very exciting. Certainly coming into the Caribbean, we have recovered substantially to 2019 level in all the Caribbean. And the Caribbean is the fastest region on earth for recovery since the pandemic. In the case of Jamaica, we are 97% recovered in terms of travel, visitor arrivals, international travel as is referred to. But the big news for you is that Jamaica has recovered to 120% of its 2019 revenue levels. So in 2019, we earned $3.7 billion for the economy, and we are projecting for this year $4.2 billion. That's 500 million more than 2019. That's the success story for the recovery so far. But the recovery has not been linear, nor can we say in any way that it has been fair or equitable. The recovery has been fraught with disruptions that are even more deadly and even more disruptive itself than the pandemic itself. The supply chain disruptions have had enormous impact on, first, the human capital within the industry. Our workers have not returned. The airlines are telling us that their pilots have not returned. Their stewardesses have not returned. And our hotels are, for the first time in our history, experiencing negative employment. In the case of Jamaica, we are negative 20% down. And the struggle is to get back to that level, because the implications of that is the competitiveness and, in fact, the quality, more importantly, of the experience that you're offering the visitor. Our industry, as you know, is a people industry. That's what we do. We're all about people. It's people acting in the interest of people. And without people, there's no tourism. So we have to look at some strategies, which I'll mention a little later on, in terms of dealing with that element of the recovery. The second element of the recovery as it relates to supply disruption is basic material, food. And food security has become a major issue in this recovery. Then there's the issue of transportation. Beyond the air transportation for passenger movement, then there is cargo disruptions. with the food that's not coming, the supplies are not coming. And so again, another strategy has to be looked at in relation, to that. And then I think finally, we've had the issue of political disruptions that have emerged, that have caused markets to be disrupted, supply areas, markets, in our case in the Caribbean of Eastern Europe, particularly the USSR, Russia. I'm sure I will be forgiven for that.
It's almost the same, isn't it?
Yes. Well, it tells you of my vintage, right? Right, because the Russian market for half of the Caribbean is very substantial, particularly Cuba. And Cuba's recovery as a result has been very anemic because they've just not had that traffic coming back in that area. So I've given you just a little bit in terms of how linear the recovery has been in that regard. And the final area of disruption for us has been cruise tourism. Cruise has just not come back in the way that it had. We had a meeting a couple days ago rather, in Domrep, where we're looking at what are the trends and projections for cruise, and we believe that cruise will be back 23, 24. And cruise tourism is very critical in a lot of the areas in the Caribbean, simply because of its immediate convertibility capabilities. The cruise, as it arrives, the dollar flows and goes straight in the pockets of the ordinary man. And that's very significant in terms of economic well-being for communities, particularly oceanfront communities that have ports and are highly dependent on cruise. So those, in my mind, represents the elements of disruption, but the opportunities and the action. Firstly, we've looked at how to deal with the issues that relate to the market and the disruptions in terms of the supply chain for human capital, the training. And we have so far trained nearly 20,000 workers online in various elements and areas of tourism delivery. We've looked also at the small and medium enterprises within the industry that are the hardest hit. And we've developed a three-pronged program for their recovery. Firstly, for, again, training, but secondly, financing. And I think that has been a big area of the disruption. The capital market itself has not come back in the way that it should, and inflation has had an enormous impact on the cost and availability of goods and services.
I want to say that you are going to do the whole picture. Let's some things to say, and you are going to give your insight at the this morning.
Oh,
with
I see Rajan standing there.
Yes.
Saying, okay,
you know, he's watching.
Taking away his
he's
session.
watching. I know that. So thank you,
okay.
Thank you, Minister.
Okay, well let me close then. Since you're going to have a little bit of me for all your, I don't know what it is that you have committed, what kind of sins you have committed, but you'll have a little bit of me of today. But just to say that the issue of sustainability and resilience are at the forefront of the strategies for recovery. We cannot recover as we were. It would be a waste of a precious opportunity that the pandemic has offered. It gave us a chance to stop, look, reflect, and reimagine. And the process of reimagining, therefore, has to be on those two fronts. And I wanted to announce here at the press conference that Jamaica leads in terms of establishing the first ever Global Tourism Resilience Day to be celebrated on February 17th, 2023 in Kingston, Jamaica, at the first ever established Global Tourism Resilience and Crisis Management Center, again by Jamaica. Our Prime Minister asked the United Nations at the last UNGA meeting to designate February 17th as Global Tourism Resilience Day. And the resolution is now being put and is being considered by the UN. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. We have to follow you, other countries.